The message Gary Cooper left behind told all. That makes everything different. Frank was Gary Cooper's real name. James Cooper founded May 7, 1901, in Helena, Montana. He grew up in the rough beauty of the American West, with wide-open sky, big ranches, and wild areas that would later have a big impact on the roles he played. He grew up in a milieu of ranching, horseback riding, and outdoor adventure. These experiences gave him a natural comfort and grace that few actors could credibly copy on television. Cooper didn't think he would ever live in Hollywood. He went to school in England and then studied at Grinnell College in Iowa. After an accident that stopped him from playing sports, he went back to Montana. It was around this time that he started to draw and write, looking into the artistic things that had always interested him. He moved to Los Angeles in the middle of the 1920s to concentrate on illustrations for a short time, but instead he got into the world of movies. He immediately found employment as a stunt rider and extra in silent westerns since he was a good horseman and had a calm attitude, not knowing that these small steps would lead to one of the best careers in movie history. By the end of the 1920s and the beginning of the 1930s, Cooper's brilliance, charm, and quietly magnetic presence had drawn the eye of big studios. His big roles made him famous all throughout the country. When Talking Pictures came out, his warm, slightly hesitant voice, which was very different from the polished acting of many early sound performers, became one of his best qualities. With movies like A Farewell to Arms 1932, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town 1936, Sergeant York 1941, and High Noon 1952, he made a name for himself that was clear. The man of principle who speaks gently yet is strong. The hero who doesn't want to be one yet finds bravery in doing the right thing instead of being brave. People who saw him perform felt a great connection to him because they recognized in him the honesty, decency, and quiet determination that they respected in themselves or wanted to emulate. Cooper's awards mirrored how well-liked he was. He earned 2 Academy Awards for Best Actor and a 3rd honorary Oscar for his long-lasting impact on the art of film. But what was even more astounding than the trophies was how far his influence spread. Clint Eastwood, Kevin Costner, and Daniel D. Lewis, who are actors from later generations, all openly praised Cooper for being able to get people's attention without being too loud. His work showed how powerful simplicity can be, illustrating that a single deliberate look, a change in posture, or a word delivered just right might say a lot. Outside of work, Cooper was noted for living a low-key existence and being humble. He was a famous person, but he stayed down to earth and nearly bashful. He liked simple pleasures more than Hollywood's over-the-top lifestyle. His friends and co-workers often talked about how devoted, humble, and kind he was, things that made him not only a great actor but also a great person. His friendships with Ernest Hemingway, James Stewart, and many others showed that he cared about meaningful relationships and learning new things as much as he cared about his work. Gary Cooper's marriage to Veronica Balfe, who was known as Rocky to friends and in Hollywood social circles, was one of the most important and stable parts of his personal life. It gives us a glance at the private man behind the stoic, understated cinematic star. The couple got married in 1933, when Cooper's popularity was on the rise in the movie business. Their marriage marked the start of a partnership that would last through successes, failures, separations, reunions, and the intense public scrutiny that comes with fame. Veronica was a serene and elegant New York socialite who had grown up in a world of affluence and elegance. She carried herself with a quiet confidence that went well with Cooper's soft-spoken, gentlemanly character. Her experience with horseback riding and her short time playing had already put her on the edge of Hollywood life. Cooper was most drawn to her because of her intelligence, grace, and sense of independence. Their wedding was a big social affair that brought together people from Hollywood and the East Coast, showing how 2 very different cultures could come together. Cooper was typically cast as the tough guy from the American West on TV, but off screen, he was fascinated by Veronica's refined upbringing and how easily she moved between high society and Hollywood. She was a grounding influence in many ways. She could help him feel good about himself while also pushing him to expand beyond the quiet, reserved person he had been known for being. She exposed him to groups of artists, writers, and intellectuals who would help him see things from a different angle and make his personal relationships better. Veronica always acted with grace and dignity even when things were tough because Cooper cheated on her, most notoriously with actress Patricia Neal. Even though these events were hard on her emotionally, she was still very devoted to Cooper. She wouldn't let the ups and downs of celebrity shake her loyalty or the strong bond they had created together. Her strength became a distinguishing trait of their marriage since she thought the man she married was far more complicated and caring than the world recognized. She stayed with him not because she needed him, but because she knew how weak he was and wanted to safeguard the quieter, more thoughtful side of him. In 1937, the couple had a daughter named Maria. Veronica took on becoming a mother with the same dedication she put into everything else. As Cooper's career grew and he took on famous roles that would make him one of Hollywood's most enduring stars, she had to take care of their home and protect their child from the darker realities of fame, even while the couple was living apart. For a while, Veronica made sure that Maria's connection with her father stayed warm, polite, and full of admiration. As Cooper's health slowly got worse in his latter years, Veronica's constant presence became ever more clear. She took care of him during his lengthy fight with cancer, giving him mental and physical support with a quiet strength that made family and friends admire her. Her unfailing commitment during this time, even after years of emotional isolation and personal problems, showed how strong their love was. After Cooper died in 1961, Veronica kept his memory alive with a mix of dignity and restraint. She rarely used their marriage to get attention and instead chose to keep his memory alive quietly with grace and loyalty. For a lot of people, she was still the woman who really knew Gary Cooper's soul. Her calm, constant presence had kept him from being restless, and her love had been with him from the height of his fame to the end of his life. Hollywood historians and fans of classic movies have been talking about the emotional tensions between Gary Cooper and Ingrid Bergman, two of the most famous and beloved stars of the Golden Age, for decades. It was clear that they had chemistry on screen, but not many people knew how much Cooper was affected by their time together until a handwritten note from him came to light after he died. The memo, which had been hidden away for years among personal papers, showed a forthright and almost painfully open confession that Cooper never had the courage to make public. "I never wanted the world to get the wrong idea about how much she meant to me," he wrote. His statements had the weight of a guy who kept more to himself than he said. That simple, emotional thank you has revolutionized the way many people think about the relationship between the two famous actors. Cooper's note talked about how much Ingrid Bergman affected him, an emotional effect that was never mentioned in interviews, viewed by film studios, or included in any official biography. In the movie For Whom the Bell Tolls, they both played leading roles. This movie changed Cooper's career and left him with feelings he never fully dealt with. Cooper wrote in the note, "There was something about Ingrid, something you couldn't get away from, something that was both pure and scary." He talked about times on site when Bergman's passion, knowledge, and kindness got to him more than he thought they would. She wasn't only a co-star to him, she was a truth teller in a town full of lies. The confession said that what Cooper found most overpowering about Bergman was how real she was, how she wouldn't play the Hollywood game, how open she was about her feelings, and how strong she was. He wrote, "She saw right through me, nor the cowboy hero nor the actor. Me." People who have looked into Cooper's life know that he was a man of many paradoxes. He was a bashful lad from Montana who became an international legend, a private person who was thrust into the spotlight, and a gentleman who carried silent hardships for decades. His note shows that Bergman saw these cracks long before anyone else did. Cooper also admitted how much the tension between them still bothered him. Their relationship wasn't easy or short-lived, but they were both stuck in situations and duties that kept them from being anything more than friends. He agreed that he wanted things were different, but sometimes life just provides you moments, not miracles. But these moments stayed with him for the rest of his life. Bergman was a memory that he kept to himself, never used for profit, never glorified in public, and never forgotten. He had to deal with the pressures of celebrity, the demands of the studio system, and the difficulties of his personal relationships. One of the most powerful parts of the note talks about how sorry Cooper is. He said that he frequently wished he had been more honest with Bergman about how he felt. "I should have told her how much she meant to me," he wrote. An admission that had been held back for years. "I used to think that being quiet was a sign of aristocracy. It could have been fear." That dread of scandal, of being weak, and of ruining both of their lives kept him on guard, even if the love was still there in the background of his generally well-behaved public persona. Today, this message changes the story, and fans and historians no longer perceive Cooper as the stoic, unbreakable character that Hollywood created. Instead, they see him as a guy with deep emotional depth. His confession sheds light on the soft truth behind a famous on-screen couple, a bond formed in front of blazing lights and hard hours, but recalled with painful clarity long after the cameras stopped filming. Cooper's last words about Bergman really hit home. "Some individuals come and go in your life. Some will always be with you." Ingrid stayed. Gary Cooper died in 1961 at the age of 60, and it was a devastating end to his life. Hollywood was shocked, and millions of fans around the world were left to deal with the loss of one of cinema's most famous leading men. His death was not unexpected, but it was quite sad since Cooper had long been the face of the American frontier, a tough, steady, and quietly heroic image that many hoped would last forever. His death marked the end of an era, one that was based on his modest acting style, his moral calm, and his ability to show strength without raising his voice. But Cooper was actually waging a terrible battle with prostate cancer, a condition that slowly progressed throughout his body and eventually reached his lungs and bones. His sickness got worse slowly but surely, requiring him to go through painful treatments and long periods of relaxation that were very different from how lively he seemed on TV. By the time the cancer spread, he was in very bad shape, and those closest to him knew that even his famous strength couldn't handle the damage it had done to his body. Hollywood was quite sad when he died. Co-stars, directors, and fans who had grown up with his movies all sent in tributes, each one talking about how Cooper had changed their ideas about courage, dignity, and decency. Friends from both the film profession and his private life came to his funeral, which was sad but respectful. People who recalled him more for his kindness, humility, and charm than for his celebrity. For a while, Cooper was buried in California, not far from the place where he had created his famous career. The first choice was based on both ease and the fact that he had always been connected to the film industry, which had shaped his adult life for decades. Fans who wished to leave flowers, prayers, or simple gestures of thanks at his grave created a minor pilgrimage site. He had shaped generations of cinematic narrative. But Veronica "Rocky" Cooper, his widow, made a heartfelt and very personal choice about where her husband would be buried. After thinking about his life, their marriage, and the beliefs they shared, she made plans for his body to be relocated across the nation and buried in Sacred Heart Cemetery in Southampton, New York. She didn't move him quickly. She did it because she thought it would be a better and more peaceful place for him, closer to the East Coast lifestyle he loved outside of his Hollywood work. Sacred Heart Cemetery was a quieter, more private place, away from the bright lights, busy industries, and constant attention that had followed him throughout his career. It was a peaceful place to be, with trees, wide skies, and the tranquility that echoed Cooper's longtime love of nature and simplicity.